A week away from the big debate, Brett and I will be in Milwaukee to moderate for the Republican candidates. President Trump keeping everybody guessing at this point about whether or not he will be there. He hasn't said that he has said, though, that he does not want to sign a pledge to support the GOP nominee if he loses, one of the RNC's requirements for that debate, because there are, he said, 2 or 3 up there that he says he can't support. So we'll see where that goes. Kellyanne Conway back with us, former senior counselor to President Trump, now president of KA Consulting and Fox News contributor, along with 2 Republican voters, Deb Ludwig from Ohio and Noreen Johnson from Pennsylvania, both very important states. Great to have both of you with us, Deb and Noreen. Let's take a look at this first poll. Most Americans, this was released today from the AP, most Americans don't want Trump or Biden to run. Trump, no, 69%. Don't run. Biden, no. 75% for the current president don't run. Deb, how do you feel? Do you want the former president to run or not?
I would prefer he did not run. I'd like to make the election about the people and about the country. And I think we're going to get all hung up on Trump, which is unfortunate. I think he did a pretty good job, but so many people can't get past it today.
Do you have a favorite of the other candidates out there, Deb?
It's DeSantis.
And what do you think about the fact that he hasn't had the liftoff in his campaign that most people expected?
I'm sad about that. I would prefer that we have somebody who is of action and can actually make things happen, which is what I think he did in Florida. But I don't know how you get elected if you can't get that push to actually get people to follow you. Yeah. I want people to listen to what he's saying and let go of all this other baggage.
Okay, let's take a look at this one when we go to Noreen on this, Kellyanne. The Quinnipiac poll shows a majority of GOP voters feel it's important for all qualified Republicans to be at that first debate. 57% say it's very important. You agree with them, Kellyanne? And
I'm with them. I'm one of them. And it's 84%, or actually 91% all told at some level of importance. And I think it's because that's direct democracy. This is the opportunity for we the people, free of charge, to access those candidates and watch them face the tough questions about each other, about the front runner, Donald Trump, and certainly about past statements they've made or policy positions that they've not yet surfaced. I wanted to say something about your earlier point, which is the poll number showing people don't want Trump or Biden. Do you know from 1980 to 2008, when Hillary was denied being on the ballot by Barack Obama or beating in the primary, we had a Bush or a Clinton on the ticket for 24 years. So Americans love to say, I don't want Trump or Biden, but they do go to Chick-fil-A every night in the minivan and order number 3. We love to talk that we're revolutionaries, we want new things. They have all these choices. And yet Biden is probably going to be the nominee with Harris as his running mate and Trump is the front runner. I think the more important polls are the ones that you're pointing out, which is who's responding to the voters, who's showing up in these states, and then also what percentage of the vote does Biden have among Democrats right now and does Trump have among Republicans? There's a little bit of softness there for each of them. They'll tie it up if they are the nominees, but people are shopping around. They're just not yet convinced with what they see.
Okay, Noreen, this is another poll out there that says Quinnipiac, a majority of GOP voters think a felony conviction should make them ineligible to be president. 58% say that. Do you agree, Noreen? I remember we talked before. I know you're a solid Trump voter, right? What do you say about that?
I am, Martha, and yes, nice to see you again, and you as well, Kellyanne. Obviously, Trump has a base, and Trump's base is the most loyal base on planet Earth. He has the strongest people that are behind him, honestly, regardless, because we have to remember, these attacks and these accusations and even these indictments and the 400 charges, it's incredible. But the truth is, the actual being attacked here and the target is not Donald Trump. It is us. It is Americans. He's just in the way. So we can look at all these polls. I know you love, the percentages that are out there. I think until we get down to Election Day, they're all just polls, as we remember with Hillary's fireworks show that was canceled. So I think until we get there, we have to remember that these indictments and these charges are a joke. And that the truth will come out. The truth will be revealed. Right now, we're just going through those motions. I think the debate would be a fantastic idea because the other thing that Trump is the best debater in the world. So I think him coming out and being honest and open about everything he's going through only shows his strength.
Okay, we'll see if he's listening to you, Noreen. Thank you very much. Good to see you both. Deb, thank you. Great to see you. We'll check in with you as we move through the election.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.